Oh, yeah, I can do that.
What's your favorite thing to do?
Fine. Looks like everything's live, so.
Okay.
Sound? Yep, excellent.
All right. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. And I'll get started with our land acknowledgement statement. Town of Coalhurst is located in Blackfoot Confederacy territory. We honor the Blackfoot people and their traditional ways of knowing and caring for this land, as well as all Indigenous peoples who have helped shape and continue to strengthen our community. Moving right into the adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion to?
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Excellent. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call question. All in favor? That's carried. And then moving down to the adoption of the previous minutes. So we do have them attached there. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
I'll make that motion,
Great, thank you.
and that is that we adopt the minutes of February 7th, 2023, regular meeting council.
Excellent. Any discussion?
I did just have one question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So as part of our communication strategy of sharing our strategic plan, should that be included in our reports, like as the purpose of the meetings with the groups? So that would be both mine and Councillor Atkinson's reports?
Sorry, was that to me or to your colleagues?
More of a general, well, it was to my colleagues actually, but sorry. But so it just says attended the policy bylaw, attended the whatever, but do we need to provide context to the discussions that we're sharing our strategic plan as we're meeting with these groups in the minutes? Sorry for being unclear. Well, rusty this morning.
I guess I would ask the administration what should be going in minutes.
Thank you, Worship, through you to Councillor Florence. If that's what Council would like to see actually added in there, when you're talking about the strategic plan, we can certainly make a notation of that in the purpose of attending the 55 plus, or purpose of attending this committee was for to discuss or to share or to spread news about the strategic plan. So if that's what we prefer, absolutely we can capture that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? No, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. All right, so I'll move right on. We don't have any citizens without formal notice today, so we'll move on to our first item for business of council, which is 6.1. And this is the council policy template. And Councillor Florence, I believe you're the chair of this committee, so maybe I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, and I will pass it off to the CAO Coffee.
Okay, thank you. Just keep going down.
I'll pass it off to Ms. Betteridge.
Yeah. Made it all the way down to the table.
Is this a walk table?
Absolutely. Through Mayor Montia to, I guess, Councillor Florence. The council policy template is a template that we have designed to help align Coalhurst's policies. So original benchmarking was done by looking at other municipalities and also our current policy templates. The intent of the template is to streamline all of our policies, both councils and, if council wishes, and administrative policies. It will help us take a look at our current state and also provide our ability to move the council policies forward. So, CEO Kaufman, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you. It's basically to standardize the policy presentation, policy development. So there's a consistency in the information that we're looking for. There's a consistency in presentation. There's most importantly, there's a consistency in interpreting, so that everybody in the present and in the future understands how the policy is going to be applied. By going through a process where it's codified, it's unified, it means that we're always gathering the same information. And of course, if there's information the council is looking for that's not in the template, either now or in the future, it can be amended or modified to gather that information.
Well, thank you. All right, so we have this in front of us. Everyone's had a chance to take a look at it. Councillor Florence or Councillor Ackerman, would either of you like to make a motion regarding this item?
Sure. I move that we accept this policy as presented, and adopt it in our future use. And again, as CAO Kaufman stated, this is really just making sure that everything's consistent, and a good approach to making sure everything's the same. It's also about being provided good information, and this is really solidifying that and taking it back to our strategic plan.
Thank you. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a quick comment. I think that the format for the template there is fantastic. I'm actually very excited to see the part with the review date and description, because that's a way that we can track our documents going forward for the changes. And I think that was something that was a little bit lacking in previous iterations of policies and bylaws. So I'm excited to see this come forward.
Thank you. If there's no more discussion, I will call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you so much for doing that. I think that it's really exciting to see this coming together. Moving on to 6.2 here, we have the council remuneration policy. Who would like to speak to this to get us started? Shall we start with administration? Let's do there. Okay.
Absolutely, thank you, Worship. I'll direct it over to Mr. Passy to take this further. Just as a bit of background, the council will recall that you had a conversation back in December dealing with the remuneration policy. It was sent back to Policy Bylaw Risk Review Committee for further conversation. There were some amendments proposed. There were some clarification to the language as well. And where you're at now basically is with the draft policy in front of council. I don't know if Mr. Passy wants to address any of the financial aspect of it.
Sure. Thank you. Through the chair to council. There's one change, just the wording of honorary to salary, definitions of what those words are. It was more appropriate to use the word salary. And then the amounts that have been proposed are for the mayor, $25,000 for the year, and for the each councillor, $20,000 for the year. This goes in line with some of the actuals as we've seen them come through 2022, the increase in work the council is doing in these going forward, and the desire to do more and to be more present and visit more committees of the town and boards. What this would then mean, if this is approved, there would need to be an addition to the budget, in the 2023 budget, of $25,000 to account for these changes.
Thank you. All right, council, would anybody like to make a motion on this item? Go ahead.
Thank you. So I move that council accepts the draft policy as presented and postpone the decision to adopt the policy at a future meeting of council, which would hopefully be our March 21st, 2023 meeting. And then, sorry, can I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So what we wanted, and as stated under the direction of council, was a way to simply and make more efficient the ways we were doing remuneration. And this was to allow us to be able to effectively do the work of council while increasing levels of transparency and organizational efficiencies. So again, this is kind of our path to professionalism, not huge changes, but will have a big impact. We also want to be equitable and fair. So the amount is equal regardless of what board you're on, and then we changed some terms to encompass our practices better. So as Mike stated, our salary, we're cleaning up the terms for external and extraordinary. And as mentioned, this amount is on par with our current cost for the past year in 2022. And it is something that we can fit into 2023. So I do support this policy, and to me it's not so much about the monetary amount, it's about aligning policy with practice and creating transparency in order by doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Go ahead.
I have a question about Councilor Florence's motion, because Does that reflect what you stated?
That's written up there.
Yes. Yeah, so,
So how do we adopt it and postpone it, I guess, is what I understand.
so this was, the thought behind, sorry, if I may.
Of course.
Thank you. The thought behind adopting it as information today and making a decision at our next meeting was so that we would adopt the decision, but have time to hear from the public and just have it out there and then come back and make the final decision. But so we're adopting the policy and then making a final decision in the future.
It seems a bit counterintuitive to me. I like the way it's worded here a little bit better, accept draft policy. Maybe that's just a nuance of the intention versus the way I hear that worded, maybe, but so then it's already been amended apparently.
Accept information to the draft council.
Sorry, Your Worship, again, yes, I think what Councilor Flores was trying to get at, we reworded it to accept it for information, draft policy, draft remuneration policy. And then the idea to defer it is not make a decision today, it's to bring it back. You can actually have that codified in the motion, or with a nod from council, we can put it on the March 21st agenda and just have it come back at that time. It gives you a month so time.
Councilor Flores, does that?
Yes, thank you. You said it way better than I did.
I'm just repeating what you said.
Does that accurately represent?
Yes, and the intent was to, exactly, to stew in it for a while, to give, if anybody wanted to weigh in from the public, or if any residents wanted to speak to anyone else about it, that they would have an opportunity to do so, but that we're adopting the draft policy right now.
We're accepting this
We're
information?
accepting, yeah.
Okay, so we're not.
Yeah. I'll just keep
Not
confusing it,
implementing.
let me get the water.
I saw, Councilor Ackerman, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna add a little bit of clarity to that, just saying, I think Councilor Florence was trying to bring it to the public before we make a final decision.
Okay, great, thank you. Any further discussion? If there's none, I will call the question. All in favor? That's carried. All right, moving on to 6.3. I need to go back to see what this is going to be in. So this is referral policy bylaw. What this is about? Do you remember this stuff?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this over to you because I can't remember right now.
Yes, I'll speak to this one.
Thank you very much.
Should I do the movement first and then rationale?
Sure,
Yeah,
do
okay.
your movement.
And I move that council direct the CAO to review administrative policy 74-02-04, donation of facilities, groups, organizations, and special birthday in consideration of donated use to the community center. How this aligns with our strategic plan is that we want to provide Coalhurst with exceptional service and create spaces for people to gather in the community. So the rationale as to why I brought this forward was currently the policy 74-0101 outlines that donated bookings for non-fundraising events and regular meetings held by Coalhurst district groups can be arranged at the discretion of this CAO. The CAO has the authority to approve donated bookings. It also mentions that it should be the C policy, the other policy, 74-02-24, which outlines the purpose and conditions that organizations and individuals must follow to use the community center on a donation basis. And so item 7 outlines that paid bookings have priority over any booking given on a donation basis, provided, and it goes into say we should make every effort to try to reorganize it if we can. And in the end, give them a chance to pay for the booking if they want. If failing this, the needed booking is canceled. So I have heard from members of the community where unpaid bookings were canceled under this policy. And while we have obviously a responsibility to manage the assets in this town with fiscal responsibility, we also have a responsibility to provide services to the citizens. So this policy may discourage some community members or groups from organizing community-wide events that would benefit our community because they have the risk of being displaced by a paid booking. And also, I noticed as well, if you read through 74024, this is could be another part that could be looked at, but it has specific language about being for a special birthday. It's very explicit that it's for a special birthday. So I don't know if Little Bags is coming out here for a special birthday, but if he might get a bump if he does though. So it's 111th birthday. Okay, I like Lord of the Rings. Okay, so I don't know what the best. I think we can do a bit better on this policy. I think there's some cleanup we can do to clarify this and perhaps provide some opportunities to give some surety to community groups while also balancing the needs of the community. Of course, we don't want somebody book it every single day of the week. That would not be fair to everybody. But I think we could look at some type of limitations about who or how many times you can book it, for example, and those types of things, which would help balance this out, I think. So that's why I moved to have the CAO and administration review this policy.
Can you show us the motion, please? Just so we can read that. Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion on this item? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just seeking a little bit of clarity. The agenda has referral to policy bylaw risk review committee, and then the motion's talking about asking administration to review this. So just I'm curious, are we looking for administration to do this on their own, or do we want to send this to policy bylaw review?
Yeah, good question. I would like to direct.
Thank you, through your worship, to Councillor Ackermans. The answer to that question is yes. It is an administrative policy, absolutely. However, there is the community component, of which members of council have the oversight. So in terms of strategy, what I propose is that CAO review it, try to find some best practices in other communities, see if we can come to some sort of satisfaction so we don't have uprisings in Middle Earth. And then look at taking it actually to policy bylaw risk review for that community overlay. Is this something that's actually going to satisfy the need of the community before it comes back here? It depends on how thorough we get through it. Depends a little bit on the approach we take as well, but it's kind of a joint thing because it's an administrative policy. It's in the CAO's wheelhouse, but there does need to be that interface in this particular one.
Can I ask just to do a quick scroll down? I note if I might, Madam Mayor, that Deputy Mayor Buttrey was talking about sort of community events and benefit of the community. Is that language in there to sort of give some of that line that says these events would be specific to, like, inclusive to all of the community?
It's not, oh, sorry.
No,
Yeah,
you're on the right track.
Yeah, it's not well defined. The policy is really written around special birthdays.
Yeah.
And this one excerpt that I took out of it for the item 7, like a little bit further down. This is the kind of the only paragraph that doesn't mention special birthdays.
Yeah. So if I may then just to that, just for clarity then, Deputy Mayor's request is to, when we're looking at donated for community events, we're talking about events that serve the community as a whole, not individuals living in the community that want to use it for their own private purposes. Just to get that clarity as we direct these folks going forward.
I could respond. I think, I guess there's two sides to it, right? So when I was reading the policy, it felt like, I felt the intent of the policy was, let's make it available to, say, seniors who maybe don't have a venue that they can go to in the town, which may be cost prohibitive for them to rent on a full-time basis. So that's the intent that I felt the policy was coming at, was saying, let's provide a space for that special birthday, their 100th birthday or something, where maybe they don't have the resources to do it themselves, right? So I do think it's important to provide some community individual levels access as well. And I know, like, it could be maybe even for a funeral for an individual, for example, right? So I don't know that there's a lot of instances, but I do feel that it would be nice if it could be possible. This is what I'm thinking, but
So with very specific parameters.
ideally.
And then, so then if we're opening it up for community, then we're setting for sort of community events where members of the community are welcomed in, as opposed to me saying, it's my aunt's, wedding shower. Can you donate that space? Okay, just for clarity, thank you. I just wanted to see if the language reflected that.
Well, I don't
That else.
and I don't know the final answer to this, but I want to start the process really.
Yeah, wonderful, thank you so much. I think that's fantastic.
Any other discussion? If there's none, I will call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, moving on now to CEO request for decision. So the one item that we have today is a prepayment of the debenture briefing note that we've received. CEO Copeland, maybe I'll just turn it over to you to talk about this.
Thank you, Worship. Members of Council have the briefing note in front of them, just as a summary or a recap. You'll recall back in January 17th, we had the motion regarding the 4 debentures on the water line, the fire hall, the Lafarge property, and land sewer. And the intent was actually to pay off these debentures from their accompanying reserves and create the opportunity for council to reallocate approximately $117,000 is what it actually should be relatively close to. Part of the motion was that I was to present considerations on February 21st at the regular meeting of council. However, as we were starting to finalize things, I came to the realization, or was made aware to me, that part of these funds actually originated in wastewater utilities. And our relationship with utilities is slightly different than it is with taxation. And so it does create a bit of a requirement to reevaluate the strategy the council wants to enact. The 117 is still available. It's just now how do we allocate that based on the fact that the part of the revenue will be coming from utilities as opposed to taxation. So basically what I'm asking is for the opportunity to take a month, also bring that back to the March 21st meeting to reevaluate the strategy, put together something different for council for your consideration and eventual approval.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion? Go ahead.
Sure. I move that council postpone the CAO presentation regarding the options for reallocation of the debenture payments to the regular meeting of council on March 21st, 2023. And if I may just speak to this quickly, I appreciate administration bringing this to our attention, and I also appreciate the fact that we're looking at doing things properly and not rushing it just to get a quick decision in there. So I'm fully in support of this.
Thank you. Any discussion? If there is none, I will call a question. All in favor? That's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to move on to administrative reports. So we have our report from the Director of Operations, who is not here today. So maybe I could get you to just let's go.
Thank you. If there are any questions, I'll happily entertain and answer what I can.
I did have one question actually. I'm just going to go back to it. My question was just about the environmental assessment for the rank road 223. What was that in regard to?
So if council recalls, there was a fuel tank there where the line had been cut at some point and there had been leakage. It's just an assessment to determine what the environmental impact is. There's going to be some contamination there, but to what level? This is consideration of how we would reallocate that land.
Yes.
If we were to look at, as we move on with subdivision, does that land get included as part of that, or is that land parsed off for municipal purposes?
Now I know. Now I got it. I thought that this was something different, so thank you for that clarification. Is there any other questions?
Sorry.
sorry, if I could just finish that thought, they actually showed up this morning, but we had everybody on the plows.
Oh.
And we just assumed because of weather, they wouldn't actually undertake it. So the date actually hasn't changed. I don't know to what date, but they will be coming back to do the assessment.
Awesome, thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
I just had a question about our solar system and our grand opening. Did that go well? Everything went well?
I think it went well. I snipped through that cord really easily. No, I think it was great. We had some media and show up, and I think it was good.
We did have coverage in the Lethbridge Herald today. Yes, with photo.
Yeah, we're doing well. Fast forward.
Nice. Did any more questions?
Yeah, it's more of a comment. I just want to say this is a great report, and thank you to Kevin, and thank you to everybody out there coming today. There's a lot of snow and more coming. And yeah, I want to say about the solar announcement on February 15th. It was very nice to have Kevin and the knowledgeable folks from MPE there. But while we were walking to the panels, Kevin was talking about the on-site safety management system and how excited he was for that. And I thought that was really, really cool. And he was talking about it was reducing paperwork and having software available for task management tracking. And it was good to hear how excited he was about that. And then also that it's just more efficiencies, right? And so I think it's really commendable that small efficiencies are making big impacts. So I think this is very cool. That's it.
Awesome. All right, would somebody like to make a motion to accept this for communication? Go ahead.
I move that we accept this for information. Information in the Director of Criminal Operations report as presented.
Excellent. Any discussion? None, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. All right, so we're going to move now to the council reports, and I'm going to start. I'm going to start down here today, if that's okay.
That works for me.
All right.
I had a very quiet couple of weeks. I have no meetings to report on.
Great.
So that was an easy start.
There you go. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Butcher?
I did do that there.
Oh, Recon culture. Oh, thank you for the reminder. I'm going away for the first time since before COVID, and so I've been racing like a mad woman through everything, and my memory's just not there. That's correct. Yes, we actually had a very good Recon culture meeting, and that was last Thursday, the 16th. I think we'll see the new terms of reference. They've been forwarded, have they, to our CAO? Thank you. So we've been putting in some really solid work on that to try to create that committee that council has been asking for. As well, we spent a period of time looking at sort of dates, dates to be recognized, to put forward sort of a recommendation to council to see if that's something that we can adopt. And the measures that we do for those dates, from everywhere from flags to just Facebook engagement. And I think that was it, really our primary discussions.
Yeah, and Jillian from XCSS attended, and she was very much welcome, and she had a lot of good input.
Yeah, so thank you very much for setting up that invitation.
Yeah, and she'll be attending going forward, which is great. So I attended Recon Culture as well, and I just, we looked at the whole year saying, what are the months and days that we need to observe. So it was a really good way to, I think, start us off. And I was of course able to attend the solar announcement, which was great, and just the regular meetings, I guess, beyond that. So that is all the meetings that I had.
Great, thank you. We'll jump over to council reports.
Thank you. So Councillor Ackerman and I and the mayor had policy bylaw on February 13th. So most of what we discussed has already been presented, and the minutes have been included as well. As mentioned, we had the solar project announcement on February 15th with the funding coming from the Municipal Climate Change Action Center. So that was very cool to be a part of. And then on February 16th, I attended an asset management workshop from Alberta municipalities. It was put on with funding through RMA. It was really good. It was all about council's role in effective asset management and how that plays into decisions we make. So I will share the book with you guys so you can take a look at that. And then on February 17th, I attended the bi-monthly Highway 320 Development Association meeting. So always just an informative and interesting meeting to hear about the ongoing efforts for Highway 320. As well, Darren Davidson, the director for Alberta Transportation, was there to give updates on the work being completed. And then the next meeting will be done in person in April. And then tomorrow I have the monthly Community Futures Board meeting. And of course, I wanted to use this moment to mention that Community Futures has a variety of supports and programs available for businesses or soon-to-be businesses in Coalhurst and surrounding areas to use, including, of course, the business improvement loan, which is something that we've included in our budget. And so just wanted to let residents know that it's something that they can take advantage of and get on with this great program through Community Futures. And then lastly, I did have a community member reach out to me about the date of the open house for the wetlands area. I'm sure the individual that no date has been set yet, but we are looking forward to engaging with citizens of Coalhurst for that area. And that's it from my report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good on to you, Councilor Ackland.
Thank you, Mayor. As Councilor Florence mentioned, I attended the Policy Bylaw Review Committee. I just want to make a comment on that. I think administration has really stepped up and helped us to clean up a lot of the policies and bylaws that we're looking at. So I really appreciate the efforts that they're putting forward. I know they're spending lots of hours on that. So I wanted to extend a formal thank you for that. After the Policy Bylaw Review Committee, I met with Movement on February 15th, which was Wednesday morning. It was great to see all the kids and parents. There's about 12 kids with 6 parents. I had a chance to speak with Jess, who was running that, and share our strategic plan summary with all the parents that were there. It seemed pretty well received. There was a few conversations from some of the parents with a couple of concerns that were a little more operational in nature, so I kind of recommended best ideas for how to address them properly, so we can go through the proper streams for that. Also, I want to say that I believe Jess does a great job with the kids. They were all smiling and laughing. Hearing some of the stories that they were sharing and then playing parachute games was definitely a highlight of my week there. I guess later that afternoon, we had the solar power cord cutting, which I thought was awesome. We lucked out and had some sun and minimal wind, so that was a bonus. I've seen that there's articles in the Sunny South News and Lethbridge Herald that have spoken to that already. So I think that's great that we're getting our winds out there, so to speak. And then just a couple notes, the Community Energy Forum from Southborough, which was set for February 23rd, was canceled. Some of the topics that they were going to speak about are being brought forward to the March Economic Summit in Lethbridge. So they're talking about some of that waste to energy stuff that was going to be at the Community Energy Forum, it's not going to be at the Economic Summit. Also, I have an upcoming executive meeting with Southborough. It was supposed to be on the 27th, but that one will be moved to March 2nd. And then finally, I just got a question if we have any update on when the Participle or CMP presentation to the community may be happening.
Through your worship to Councillor Ackermans, we're working on the tentative date of March the 6th, Monday, March the 6th. Staff Sergeant Newman is going to confirm that with me. We've got the hall booked, ready for it. Our intent is to advertise through social media, and we'll get something in the newsletter as well, so it's fresh in people's minds.
Thanks. So for me, a couple of things. I attended the Alberta Municipality Safe and Healthy Communities meeting. I think it was the 10th of February. Again, really, really interesting. This is my second meeting that I've had as being part of this committee. And so learning, I guess, more so about what they do and how they function. We did talk about a couple of different topics that have come through as part of the resolutions and the areas that we are focusing on within Alberta municipalities. And did have some interesting presentations from a couple of different people regarding drug poisoning and what that looks like within the province of Alberta and what's being done for that. So I'm really enjoying going there and learning more about it and seeing how they function and those types of supports that they provide to us as municipalities as well. Then I just attended the regular things that have already been discussed. policy bylaw, agenda setting, the solar announcement, which was awesome. And really excited about that. And then finally, I just wanted to extend my thank you to our administrative team, whether it's bylaw or it's anything to do with taxation. Whenever I have somebody within the community ask me for something, I feel very, very confident in the response and the response time that our residents are receiving. And I think that that's excellent. And so I did get some really, really nice feedback from a resident about the how people are being given the information that they're looking for. So thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. All right, if there's nothing further for reports, we do have the minutes from the policy bylaw risk review committee meeting. And would you like to speak to those, or would you like to just make a motion regarding accepting them?
I'll just make a motion.
Yeah,
So I move that we accept the policy bylaw minutes as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion on those minutes? If there's none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. And then before we go into closed session, we do have one piece of correspondence. So this was a letter to Minister Cupping from the town of Fox Creek regarding ambulance service. And would anyone like to make a motion on that, or to make a motion to accept it as information?
Yeah, I move to accept the information, the information of correspondence as presented.
Well, thank you. Any discussion? There's none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. And then, can I get a motion to go into closed session at 6:37 p.m.? Great, thank you. Oh, call the question. Any discussion? No. I'll do any discussion first. I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, there we go.
Let's just always work this in the air.
Thank you. That's curious.
Lindsay, you were doing the,
I can make. Is that all good?
Yeah.
Do we have sound here?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Can I get a motion to go into open session at 7:09 PM? So,
I'll make that motion.
I said open session, right? Is it close to me?
I'll make
Okay.
a motion.
Okay, good. Excellent. Any discussion? Okay, we'll call a question. All in favor? That's carried. And then,
I move that the council direct the closed session discussions with respect to sections 24 and 29 of the Freedom of Information Protection and Privacy Act with regards to the interim CAO contract.
any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That's carried. And moving on to business arising from the closed session. So I would like to make a motion to extend interim CAO Kaufman's amended contract until May 31st, 2023. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That's carried. And then can I get a motion to adjourn at 7:10 PM?
I know that we adjourned at 7.
Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That's carried.